Hi guys, and today I'm going to do my tips for round 13. First up we have Hawthorn and West Coast at Etihad Stadium on the Friday night. Hawthorn had a bit of a scare last week against Carlton, but they still got up to win by 15 points. And West Coast had the bye, so it was pretty easy for them, but the week before that they bet the Saints by less than a kick. Hawthorn defeated West Coast by 50 points in their last encounter, which was at Patterson Stadium, which is arguably a bit of an upset, but yeah, they certainly did alright that day. With the way the Eagles have been playing, give them almost no chance, and it's also in Melbourne, so can't really go past the Hawks on this one. My tip is Hawthorn by 58 points. Sydney head over to Adelaide to take on Port Adelaide in Kurt Tippett's comeback match, and also come back to AAMI Stadium. And Sydney have been really good recently. They thrashed Adelaide at AAMI Stadium only weeks ago by 77 points. And Port Adelaide last week did a pretty good job against GWS, winning by 75 points, and that's the second time this year that they managed to get a win against them. The last time Port actually managed to beat Sydney was all the way back in 2006, so it's certainly been a long time, and Sydney love playing Port, I guess. And I don't think, even though they are at home, Port Adelaide, I don't think they can match Sydney. I'm going to go with Sydney by 47 points. St Kilda go up against Melbourne at the MCG on the Saturday afternoon. Both sides haven't been in particularly great form, it has to be said, and Melbourne also getting their fair share of injuries probably isn't helping them much either. The last time these sides went head to head, it was St Kilda getting the job done by 25 points. Melbourne haven't actually beaten St Kilda since 2006, so it's another hoodoo featuring 2006. And also St Kilda have only won 2 games of the year. Melbourne have only won 1, which was against GWS, so not really the finest victory for them. But yeah, I think the Saints should be comfortable to get a 42-point win on this occasion. Western Bulldogs go up against Richmond at Etihad Stadium on the Saturday night. The last 2 clashes between these two sides have been more than 10 goals in it, Richmond being the victor on those occasions, but it's interesting because Richmond have struggled for years recently against the Doggies. I think before the last 2 games, the last time they won against them was 2005, but they've really been able to combat the hoodoo. And Richmond were pretty good last week. They got home against Adelaide by 38 points, and the Doggies were pretty competitive in the end against Collingwood. The margin was over 50, but they brought it back to 34 and lost by that in the end. Richmond have won 3 of the last 4 games and seem to be hitting top gear, whilst the Western Bulldogs, they just seem to be back to square one really. I like the Tigers here. I don't think the Bulldogs can match them. I'm going to go with Richmond by 50 points. Fremantle host North Melbourne at Patterson Stadium on the Sunday afternoon. The last time these two sides went head to head, it was Fremantle coming out of the blocks, winning by 53 points. This was away from home, believe it or not, and they won that without Matthew Pavlich, so that was quite impressive. North Melbourne had the bye last week, and Fremantle did enough. They won by 40 points in the end to get across the line over competitive Brisbane Lions outfit. An interesting stat is that since 2004 to 2005, no team out of these two sides have beaten each other twice in a row, so that's quite astounding. But so North win according to that script. However, I think Fremantle will continue on their 7-game winning streak, and they're at home as well, which only complements why they should win even more. I think the Dockers will win by 37 points. Geelong head up to the Gabba to take on the Brisbane Lions. The last time these sides went against each other, it was Tommy Hawkins kicking 6 goals in the wet conditions and got them across the line by 38 points. And it's been nearly 4 years since the Cats have lost to the Brisbane Lions. And that victory to Brisbane came back in round 15, 2009. Geelong rested, I think, about 8 players after the epic battle with St Kilda. And in the end, Brisbane comprehensively defeated them by 43 points. Brisbane do get a few handy players. They get Leuenberger back, they get Brown, Rich and Daniel Merritt, so they've got a couple coming back in. But yeah, I'm not sure if that will be enough anyway. It will be a good contest, no doubt, and Geelong don't have this by any stretch, but sometimes after a week off they just tend to put the foot off the pedal a little bit, but I'm going to go with Geelong by 30 points. So those are my tips for round 13. Only 6 games again this weekend because of the bye. Feel free to comment your tips as always, and thank you for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys all soon.